I have been back in the US now for about 4 weeks and I can already feel the food difference. I think a lot of people know who have traveled to Europe or Spain, wherever, and then come back to the US. You can really taste and feel the difference of food. When you are over in Europe, everything just tastes different. I think it tastes a little bit better and the flavor is just different, and you can eat a lot of the same foods and not feel as groggy and bad. I wanted to go through some of the biggest differences I noticed. I was in Spain for 2 years without coming back to the US, and so I really started to notice the difference. I actually started noticing right at around the 1 month mark. As I was kind of thinking about it, I really noticed it. And now it's been a month back in the US and I'm really starting to notice it again as well from a different perspective. So I just wanted to go through a lot of the things I've noticed, and it just doesn't really make sense, but somehow it just is. So the biggest thing is going to be the banned additives. There are 2,000 additives in US food that isn't allowed in European food. And it's kind of crazy the differences why they just don't keep them out. I don't know if it's a price thing for when they put in the additives, it makes the overall process cheaper, or they think it tastes better. I think a lot of the additives too are very addictive, so it makes you want it more. Some of the big examples people use, one girl had done a video where she had a Fanta. She bought one from the US and one from Europe, and just looking even at the labels, it's all different. And then when you pour it out, the American one was a much brighter color to make it more appealing, and it had, of course, a ton more things in it to try to make it taste better in a sense. And so that's kind of a really big thing for all the big brands, you know, Coca-Cola, even like there are some Lay's and Ruffles chips you can get in Europe, the same ones here, and everything just tastes differently. There are some stores in Barcelona specifically called Taste of America, and they have like American brand food, which it is American brand, but it doesn't taste the same. They sell a lot of things that aren't typically in like European supermarkets, such as like brownie mix or cookie mix is not very common. Cheez-Its, kind of other random things. There's like frosting like that comes in the container, like the Pillsbury, things like that. So those are big things, but they do taste differently. Like I remember one time I went just to get some frosting because I was using it for a topper for like a festive party I was hosting, and they had some Cheez-Its out, and I tasted those, and even those taste different. So even though it is like the American brand products, they don't have the, of course, banned products that you can't sell in Europe. So that is a big thing. And I think the additives too make it really more addicting. This is something I've really noticed, especially because I can feel it here. Like I really want certain things more like the processed food, because I think they put things in the unhealthy things that really make it more additive. And I've struggled with this, throughout most of my life with food and stuff. And you really notice the difference. Like that is the one big thing I noticed the 1 month mark when I was in Europe, is that I stopped craving these unhealthy things that I had been eating in the US, partially maybe because I didn't have access to those. So then I wasn't having it, but I was still eating sort of similar like products, like chips, for example. Here I like, but they sell chips too in Europe, but I think they don't have all those extra additives. So you don't like crave it or want it. Same thing with like candies and desserts, which a lot of people can eat a lot of. Those kind of things they have over there, a lot less variety for sure, I think, because of the additives and different flavor things that you can't have. But it really like makes a difference. And I'm noticing that here too, because we've had like, I love my spicy popcorn. That is one thing Europe doesn't do well, is the spicy chip popcorn category. But, those things, taste different, but they do have some there, but they just don't taste the same. I'm assuming it's because of those banned things that it does taste differently. But really kind of noticing those differences. And I think other people, when you spend extensive amounts of time in Europe versus here, you really kind of notice the difference with the additives and how that makes you feel as well. The next thing is just the quality of the food and the taste. Specifically, like there's a lot of like fresh produce and all the fresh bread stuff doesn't last as long because there is less additives and different chemicals in it. Like bread, for example, goes bad a lot faster. It gets harder faster. Same with a bag of chips. You open it in Europe, they can start to feel like old after like a day. Even if you've kind of sealed it, they don't really last. So things like that are a big difference. And just the taste, especially I've noticed here, the biggest thing I noticed immediately was fruits and vegetables. In Spain, we eat a lot of peppers and stuff. They're very affordable, and I think they're grown there pretty easily. So they're very common. Like the taste is just so much better. Also, like a lot of fruit is different. Even chicken tastes a lot different. Things just kind of taste better and fresher, especially when it comes to the produce, the meat, that kind of whole category. The processed stuff, I think, is just kind of separate. And that's just going to be a different taste profile because of all the restrictions. But the produce and meat and things like that, like the natural foods, really taste so much better, and it makes you want to eat it more. I've had tomatoes here probably once or twice a week, and it just doesn't taste the same. I'm not doing red sauces anymore or anything like that. I've tried making it different ways and buying tomatoes at different supermarkets. And I think really the only tomatoes that taste good are from just small local sellers that do it themselves. But for me also too, being on a really tight budget now, that just isn't an option for me. But I think that could be an alternative. It'll cost you a lot more, but the option is there if needed. And then third, and I think the biggest thing, is the price. So a lot of the fresh, healthy products in Europe are a lot cheaper than the processed foods. I mean, some of them are cheaper, like pasta is cheap, a bag of chips is cheap. But what really shocked me, started going grocery shopping here, just at your regular stores like Safeway, Albertsons, Jewel, even Costco, Target, places like that, more like affordable in a sense than like Whole Foods. But the prices are just shocking how expensive things are. Like peppers here at a lot of places are like $1 to $2 a piece, or like 2 for $3 for a pepper. Like in Spain, you can buy a whole bag of peppers at a regular chain there also for less than $1. Things like that is just, it just shocks me how much it costs. Chips is a really big thing too. In Europe, at most of the chains, a bag of chip is around €1 or $1. Here, it's like $6 for a bag of chips. And I'm like, isn't this processed food supposed to be cheaper? So why does it cost so much? But just everything is expensive. I think that really makes it harder too now for Americans who already can't afford groceries, but even trying to eat healthier options, because it's just so expensive. Like, yeah, you can get some of the processed stuff a little cheaper if you're just doing, rice or pasta, things like that. But if you want like chicken or vegetables, it's just so expensive now. I can't believe it. And I really see why inflation is just getting so out of control. It's just crazy. Like we spend about 4 times as much here on groceries as in Europe, and in Europe we're eating a lot healthier foods. So here, if you were actually buying the exact same foods in Barcelona or Spain versus America, it would just be night and day. It's crazy. It's really shocking. It's the prices of everything here is, but being gone for 2 years and coming back and seeing it, it's like, whoa, it's a big difference for sure. People talk about portion size a lot. Yeah, this is a little bit different, especially at like the fast food places. Like we have McDonald's and Taco Bell in Spain, and I can tell those portions of things are a little bit smaller. It's really not a huge deal, but in Europe and at restaurants a little bit, but most stuff is kind of similar. I mean, they don't have like the mega portions like a lot of places do here, or there's not a lot of all you can eat or kind of big buffets. But I think because the food there is more natural, it's better for you. You naturally kind of eat a little bit less most of the time, and nothing is really in bulk. I think if you're outside of big cities, more in the suburbs, there are some bigger chains where you can kind of buy bigger quantities of things, but most things at the grocery store are smaller quantities. You're not gonna there is Costco in Spain, but you're not going to go and buy 20 rolls of toilet paper. Most of them come with like 6 or 8, and that's just kind of the standard because you're always going to the store, so you don't need to bulk up. And properties, most are a little bit smaller, so you're not going to buy bulk products as well. um, but yeah, the portion sizes I'd say are very similar. I never really had an issue with that. Sometimes the tapas can be kind of small because it'll literally just be like one piece of toast with one thing. So then you might have to get a little bit more if you're eating something like that. But most pastas or regular salads, dishes are quite big and filling, for example. So it's really not a huge issue, except maybe unless you're at those chains and you want like a jumbo soda or something like that. But that really, I don't think is a big issue anymore. I guess it depends kind of what your eating style is. And I think a big part of that also that I've learned is it's more of a social thing. Like when you're eating, you're taking your time, you're talking with friends, you're kind of doing this and that. So you kind of naturally fill up a little bit because you're taking longer to eat. Versus here, like I noticed when we go out to eat at restaurants, a lot of times it's just like an hour or less. We kind of just go, order, eat, and then leave and do something else. We don't really go and stay there for, those typical 2-3 hour meals you can have for lunch, dinner, even breakfast. In Spain specifically, because they do take a little bit longer. But a lot of European countries do too, Italian and France, it's definitely more of a social activity. So I think that is why you might be inclined to eat a little bit less there because it's a better quality and you're kind of taking more time and just kind of eating small as you go versus kind of just stuffing everything down. So that is a big difference as well. I think the biggest difference for me for 2 years there versus here is really the prices of things and then the taste. I'm already missing the taste. Thankfully, we'll be back in Italy and then Switzerland and stuff for a couple of months, but really getting back to the food and just having things taste better, it does make it eating healthier here harder because things just don't taste as good. The fruits and vegetables, the meat and stuff, I think I can season it pretty well, but the meat and vegetables specifically, fruit and vegetables, sorry, they just taste so much better over there than the ones here, sadly. And I think that's just kind of how it's going to be, and I don't think it's going to get better. I know they're trying to ban some of the additives and some of the processed foods, but they're giving them a year and a half, and who really knows how much that is going to be enforced because they could just bulk make a ton of stuff and then just slowly keep selling it for probably another year or two if they really stocked up on certain things. So who knows? But there's just so much money in the food, well, every industry, but the food industry that they're never going to regulate it here like they do in Europe. There's just too much money, and that's just how every market is here. Nothing will really go away in the US because whoever's got the big money back in it will sadly keep it going. So wanted to explain the differences. I know a lot of other people feel it and notice it too, and just how it makes you feel. Like when you're over there, you're eating a ton of bread, well, depending where you are. A lot of bread, a lot of pasta, desserts, coffees, wine and beer, and you just don't feel that like down bloat or anything that you can feel when you eat a lot of junk food here. It's just different. There's less stuff to it, and you're just kind of more active, I think, which really helps, like with walking everywhere instead of just sitting in a car, sitting at home, whatever the case may be. So I think that's a big difference too, and I really miss it. And that's another reason that I want to go back, and it's more affordable, especially now, pretty much running out of money. I'm on a really tight budget for food. So thankfully I can just eat a lot of what my parents already had here, at least for like pastas and rice and quinoa and things like that. But the other stuff, like really kind of having to limit for a while, even the fresh stuff I can buy because it's just so expensive. Here 2 peppers is $3 versus there I could get a whole bag of peppers for $1. So that really is going to make it hard as well. So we'll see how it goes. But if anyone's wondering on the differences, that's kind of my perspective as someone who was totally out of the American food for 2 full years. And then now being back for only about a month and really like feeling those differences and how I feel too. So really noticing that, and another big reason why I want to live there and go back and spend most of my time there if possible, because it just helps me and makes me feel a lot better as well. Hopefully this information has helped everybody, and you will continue on my return arc 4-month journey until we go back to Europe. See you guys in the next one.